You know that feeling when you realize someone's been playing you this whole time? That's exactly what Hollywood is experiencing right now. And let me tell you, the fallout is absolutely brutal. We're talking about a couple who went from royalty to reality TV, and now they're watching their entire world collapse in real time. The crazy part? It all started with someone they thought was their closest ally. Buckle up because this story has more twists than a Netflix thriller, and trust me, you won't see the ending coming. The whispers started quietly at first. Industry insiders began pulling back, declining invitations, suddenly too busy to collaborate. You could feel the shift. People who once fought for a chance to work with them were now ghosting their calls. Why? Because when you're associated with people whose private conversations might become tomorrow's headlines, you become a liability. And in Hollywood, liability equals career death. Partnerships that seemed rock solid just months ago started showing cracks. Brand executives were having emergency meetings. Netflix, the platform that handed them a golden ticket, was suddenly asking uncomfortable questions. The very foundation of their reinvention was shaking, and everyone could sense it. This wasn't just bad press. This was something far more dangerous. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The tapes weren't just sitting there collecting dust. They were already in motion, possibly already shared with people who had zero loyalty and everything to gain. And when that realization hit, when the full scope of what was about to unfold became clear, panic set in. The moment the existence of these recordings went public, chaos erupted behind closed doors. Picture this: a sprawling mansion in California, the kind of place that's supposed to represent success and freedom, suddenly transformed into a war zone. She was furious, absolutely livid, pacing through rooms, phone in hand, accusations flying in every direction. Who leaked it? Who betrayed them? Get the lawyers on the phone now. It was the kind of meltdown that happens when someone realizes they've lost control of their own narrative. And control was everything. But honestly, the real gut punch wasn't just that the tapes existed, it was what you could hear in his voice. Not anger, not defiance, exhaustion, raw, unfiltered exhaustion, the kind that comes from carrying a weight you never asked for. You could hear it, this realization creeping in, that maybe, just maybe, everything had gone terribly wrong. That the life he thought he was building was actually a cage he'd walked into willingly. And that's not just gossip. That's genuinely tragic. Hollywood has a sixth sense for vulnerability. The moment blood hits the water, everyone scatters. Suddenly, those multi-million-dollar deals didn't look so appealing anymore. Streaming platforms that had invested heavily were quietly reassessing their positions. Major partnerships went from full steam ahead to let's revisit this timeline in a matter of days. One well-connected publicist put it bluntly: being attached to them right now is professional suicide. And in an industry built on image, those words carry weight. The response was swift and surgical. She went from fury to desperation almost overnight, reaching out constantly, leaving message after message, alternating between charm and desperation. But the person she was trying to reach wasn't budging. And then came the statement, the one that basically ended any hope of reconciliation. It was short, direct, and absolutely devastating. You can't hide behind empathy when your truth is built on other people's pain. Those words went everywhere. Social media exploded. Think pieces were written within hours, because it wasn't just a statement, it was a verdict. And everyone knew exactly who it was aimed at. Her team kicked into overdrive. They called it something like Project Restoration, or maybe Operation Comeback, some carefully branded PR campaign designed to flip the script entirely. They started feeding stories to sympathetic outlets, painting her as the victim once again. The narrative was familiar. She'd been used, exploited by someone she trusted, betrayed by people who pretended to care. She was the wounded hero, still standing despite everything thrown at her. The ungrateful allies, the relentless media, the conspiracy to tear her down. For a brief moment, it almost gained traction. Almost. And then more recordings surfaced. These weren't just casual conversations. These allegedly showed something far more calculated. Her voice, clear and deliberate, walking him through exactly what to say in upcoming interviews, coaching him on which emotions to emphasize, which moments to play up for maximum sympathy. It wasn't illegal, sure, but it was strategic, manufactured, and it confirmed what so many people had suspected but could never quite prove. The authenticity they'd sold to the world was carefully constructed. Every tear, every confession, every supposedly spontaneous moment, potentially scripted. That revelation changed everything. Because it wasn't about whether they deserved privacy or sympathy anymore, it was about trust. And once that's gone, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. He basically disappeared after that, not physically, but emotionally. Friends described him as a shell, completely withdrawn. Some said he'd retreated entirely, maybe even gone back across the ocean to reconnect with old military friends, people who knew him before all of this, people who didn't want anything from him. Meanwhile, she doubled down. She tried reaching out to the biggest names in media, the ones who'd championed her before, hoping for another chance to tell her side. But even those doors were closing. One producer reportedly said something like, "We already gave you a platform to share your truth once. It didn't exactly stand the test of time." That rejection must have stung. The tabloids smelled blood and didn't hold back. Headlines screamed about Hollywood turning its back, about brands collapsing, about an empire in free fall. YouTubers spent hours dissecting every second of the leaked material, slowing down audio, analyzing tone and phrasing. TikTok creators mocked the PR attempts with brutal efficiency. For the first time since this whole saga began, they weren't controlling the conversation. The conversation was controlling them, and it was relentless. Then the bombshell dropped. The person who released the tapes didn't just sit on them. He gave a full interview to a journalist, laying out everything he'd witnessed during their stay at his home, and his description was damning. He said it wasn't a couple trying to heal from trauma. It was a couple performing trauma, rehearsing lines, scripting emotions, engineering every leak and every revelation for maximum impact. That interview was a nuclear bomb. Suddenly, the entire narrative collapsed. They weren't refugees seeking peace. They were a PR machine manufacturing sympathy, and Hollywood ran. Invitations vanished. Brand deals were frozen indefinitely. That new product line she'd been developing? Shelved without explanation. The industry that had once welcomed them with open arms was now pretending they didn't exist. While she was scrambling to salvage what remained of her public image, he was reportedly coming apart. He felt used, exposed, humiliated on a global stage. Sources close to him said he was questioning everything. Was any of it real? Or had their entire life together been a performance he was too blind to see? Things behind closed doors were apparently worse than anyone imagined. She accused him of abandoning her when she needed him most. He fired back, finally pushing back after years of going along. People who knew them said it was their most explosive fight ever. He walked out and didn't return for 2 days, and when he finally resurfaced at a charity event, he was alone. The cameras captured everything, a man who looked utterly defeated. The spark, that energy that used to radiate from him, completely gone. He looked like someone who'd realized too late that he'd lost himself. Even the royal family, those masters of calculated silence, couldn't resist a subtle jab. An official spokesperson released a statement emphasizing the importance of integrity and discretion in public life. The subtext was crystal clear: "We warned you, and now everyone sees what we already knew." But the person who started this all didn't gloat. He didn't give interviews or go on victory laps. He just posted something simple on social media. Truth doesn't need a microphone, it just needs time. That was it. But everyone understood. He was done with them, and he'd said everything he needed to say. The world didn't rush to defend her this time. There were no viral hashtags, no celebrity statements of support, just a quiet, collective acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, the critics had been right all along. Word on the street is, he's been talking to his brother again, carefully rebuilding that bridge he burned. But she? She's isolated. The empire she tried to build is crumbling, and the person who was supposed to be her partner in all of this is slipping away. One headline captured it perfectly. He gave them shelter once. this time, he gave them truth, and it broke them both. Because here's the thing, the tapes didn't just expose secrets. They exposed who they'd become, calculated, manipulative, willing to weaponize their pain for profit. And now everyone's left wondering if there's any possible path forward. Because he didn't just leak audio files, he leaked reality. And you can't rewrite reality, no matter how good your PR team is. Now, about those tapes. When they finally dropped, not all of them, but enough to do serious damage, the reaction was immediate and visceral. You know how people had kind of felt sorry for him? Imagining him as this trapped guy just wanting freedom and peace? Yeah, throw that image straight into the garbage. The guy comes across as bitter and entitled, just constantly complaining about everything. The media scrutiny, the royal protocols, his own family. And the things he says about his brother and father? Honestly, some of it's hard to even repeat. It's vicious, personal, and cruel. Not the words of someone seeking understanding, but someone looking to inflict damage. And her? She sounds like someone who saw an opportunity and took it. The royal family wasn't a new chapter in her life, it was a career move. The way she talks about other members of the family, especially the women, it's just mean. Catty and petty in ways that completely contradict the image she's tried to project. And there's this moment where she's allegedly mimicking someone's accent, putting on this exaggerated voice, and it's so cringeworthy you almost feel secondhand embarrassment. But here's what really gets you. It's not just the content of what they're saying, it's the attitude behind it. There's this smugness, this sense that they genuinely believed they were smarter than everyone else, that they could manipulate public opinion indefinitely, that they had the media figured out, that people would just keep buying whatever they were selling. Turns out, people aren't quite that easy to fool forever. The fallout has been absolutely insane. Netflix is reportedly in full panic mode, trying to figure out how to handle projects they're contractually obligated to. Word is, they're considering shelving some content entirely just to avoid the association. And that audio deal? Completely dead. No one wants their brand anywhere near this mess right now. But the real damage isn't financial, it's credibility. Who's going to believe anything they say ever again? They built everything on authenticity, on being the ones willing to speak their truth no matter the cost. Except it turns out their truth was carefully constructed fiction. It's like discovering your favorite authentic brand is actually manufactured in a corporate lab. The betrayal feels personal. And the royal family? Oh, they're playing it cool publicly, maintaining that dignified silence they're famous for. But behind closed doors, you know there's satisfaction. This basically proves everything they've been saying all along. Every concern they raised, every boundary they tried to set, all of it vindicated. They don't have to say a word. The tapes speak for themselves. So what happens now? Can they recover from this? Honestly, it's hard to see how. They've burned too many bridges, alienated too many allies, and completely destroyed their most valuable asset, their credibility. Some people are saying this is just temporary, that they can spin their way out of it given time. But I don't buy it. This isn't just another PR crisis that'll blow over. This is a fundamental exposure of character. And once people see that, once they understand who you really are beneath the carefully crafted image, you can't unsee it. You can't unring that bell. They thought they could rewrite all the rules, keep the titles, the status, the money, and the freedom to do whatever they wanted without consequences. They thought they could have their cake and eat it too, play victim while cashing checks, claim privacy while courting publicity. But life doesn't work that way. Eventually, reality catches up. I'm not saying I feel sorry for them. They made their choices, calculated every move, and now they're facing the consequences. But there is something sad about watching it all fall apart. They had so much potential, so much influence they could have wielded for genuine good. Instead, they chose fame over substance, headlines over impact, and now they're watching everything they built collapse. It's a cautionary tale, really. A reminder that you can't construct a meaningful legacy on manipulation and half-truths. You can fool people for a while, maybe even a long while, but eventually, the truth surfaces. And when it does, when everything you've built is revealed to be hollow, the collapse is total and devastating. They wanted to change the game, to prove they could do things their way. And in a sense, they did change things, just not in the way they imagined. They showed everyone exactly what happens when ambition outweighs integrity, when image becomes more important than substance, when you prioritize the performance over the reality. And now the performance is over. The curtain's been pulled back, and everyone sees what was behind it. The question isn't whether they can recover, it's whether there's anything left worth recovering.